All right. So, and Jeff, just do quick introductions. Greg Johnson is with us. Jen Watson with us. Mark Johnson. And then Angela Krager is with us as well. But so we will, what we'll do, so here's what we do. We do record this, right? And then we end up, Jeff, editing all this stuff for the audio podcast.
Okay.
But some of our Patreon teammates get an opportunity to watch us record live. We give them that opportunity. So if you are tuning in live, or if you happen to be streaming this after the fact, welcome to Stormfront Freaks Raw. We call this Raw because this is the raw recording of our audio podcast. So we don't know what gets said and done, and who knows what happens. It's the raw version usually is the best version, but if you get an opportunity to watch that. But we do have Jeff Berardelli with us tonight. He's chief meteorologist down at Tampa Bay, Florida at WFLA TV. And so we're going to be talking a little tropical weather now that Jeff's back in Florida again and down on the coast.
And he's putting on the jacket, so it looks like it's going to be serious.
Wow.
No, do you know why I did that? This is what?
Because you're cold?
Not cold. No, it's Tampa, Florida. We don't get cold down here. No.
But in the studio.
No, there's a better reason. Did you notice I was dark before? It's because the white light.
Yes.
It's because of the white shirt. I put this watch. You'll see. See? Look at that.
Yeah.
Is that, oh, do you see that?
Look at that.
That was a trick I used.
I love that.
I knew. I was like, why am I dark? There's a light right in front of me. And I'm like, yes, my white shirt is competing against me.
You need to make a TikTok about that.
It would probably do really well.
It would do really
Why don't you guys just cut this?
Okay.
TikTok.
We'll do that. Jen, I'll send it to you. You can take care of that for us because I have no clue how to do TikTok. So.
Yes. That's awesome.
All righty. So let's do this. I see Josh Burnham. Hello, Josh. Just jumped on as well. So good to see Josh. So here's what we'll do. I'm going to do the quick tease opening. And then we will come back and do the official opening. We're going to introduce our teammates, find out what they're drinking tonight. And then I will introduce Jeff. We'll start with the questioning. I'd say let's go to about 25 after the hour, 30 after the hour, somewhere around there with the first round of questions. And then we'll take a break. And then just come back with a few more questions after the break. Does that sound good?
Angela get to hang around with us today?
Oh, sure, Angela. Yeah. You can stay in. We'll keep you on there, of course. All right.
Can I just make one comment? MJ, to me, your mic sounds quiet.
Yeah, okay. I'll fix that.
Tap your mic. Yep, okay. So at least that's working. Okay.
It just sounded quieter than Phil and Jen, so...
in the setup I have here, I have to lean into it a little bit probably to make it better. So
okay.
Jeff, you got any questions? You good?
No, I'm good.
All right, we're going to do the quick tease here first. Coming in, 3, 2. Hey, Storm Freaks, it's Phil. Hey, we're welcoming back Jeff Berardelli, but this time he's back in Tampa Bay as the chief meteorologist at WFLA TV, and he's here to talk about tropical storms. We also have some hashtag weather fools and share our WX resources. So all that and more on episode 165 of the Stormfront Freaks podcast. All right, here we go. Let's go in. Everybody ready?
Yes.
3, 2. Hey, welcome to the most entertaining weather podcast. This is the award-winning Stormfront Freaks podcast. It's brought to you by Kalshi, a federally regulated exchange. So this is where you can trade and forecast weather events, including hurricanes, water levels, and global temperatures. Just go to kalshi.com/SFF, and you can sign up and learn a lot more. And I want to let you guys know, by the way, because we had Luana on a couple episodes ago to talk a little bit about this. I just bought 5 contracts for 60 cents each. Okay, big spender, I know. That there would be greater than 2 major Atlantic hurricanes this year.
Impressive.
So
Wow.
all my money is on 3 or more major Atlantic hurricanes this year. Jeff, how do you think I'm going to do?
So far, you're a loser.
So far, you're correct.
But well, and this storm, as of last time I checked, Earl was still a Cat 2. Hadn't
Yeah.
quite reached, because and this is how bad your luck is. It has been strengthening for 24 hours, but instead of the energy going into making the core stronger, it's just been getting bigger. Usually we see the core strengthen and we see it become Cat 2, Cat 3, Cat 4. And in this case, because I think partially because it's decently far north, but that's really not necessarily the reason. There's good outflow. It's expanding its size with that energy rather than its intensity. So it seems like the dice are loaded against you.
Yeah, so I've only got really $3 into it because of 5 contracts at 60 cents. I got about $3 in. But again, if there are 3 or more by the end of the year, end of November, it's all $1. I get $1, so I can make $2 or $3 on that whole deal. How's that sound?
I'm looking at this website. I've never heard of it before, so I'm checking it out right now.
Yeah. So there are all kinds of cool stuff. You can. It's like fantasy football for weather nerds. It's kind of cool. I also want to put a thanks out to our Patreon teammates. They're the ones that also help support the show, including those joining us live tonight. I know Josh Burnham is on the chat, and we got Angela Krager in the studio. So we got some great friends on tonight as well. You can also join us, right? It's not exclusive. You can join our Patreon team with multiple levels of perks. Just go to stormfrontfreaks.com, and you can find out more there as well. So it's always happy hour every time we record. It's always cool, but when we record at night, it's a lot easier too. But so we're going to go around. We're going to find out what everybody's drinking tonight, and this is a great way for us to also introduce our co-hosts, find out who's here this evening. I'm going to start with Mark M.J. Johnson up in Minnesota. MJ, what are you drinking?
Hey, I've got a Kettle House Brewing out of Bonner, Montana. It's the Cold Smoke Scotch Ale.
Cold smoke.
Yeah,
Fitting.
Nice.
a little bit fitting. Yeah.
Little smoke down there right now.
I like it.
All right, let's go to Jen Watson down in Atlanta. Jen, what are you drinking?
Oh my God, nothing exciting as always. I've got some sparkling watermelon water. I have to.
At least it's got flavor.
It's got something.
All right, and some bubbles.
I know. I have to work after this recording, so I have to be.
You're the lamest drunk on the internet, Jen. Just so you know.
I am. I did drink the one time during the Sharknado episode. Sharknado, I did.
Okay.
Tequila.
Yeah, Jeff, we're really classy here on this show. Then Greg Johnson up in Canada. Greg, what are you drinking tonight?
Well, listen, I'm actually driving tonight. I'm here in my house in the van, and I've got my brothers from different mothers, my stepbrother's glass of Canada Dry Ginger Ale.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey.
We are awesome.
Wow. What were you saying about a drunk, internet drunk?
Yeah. This is the first time ever I haven't actually been on the show drinking.
All right. Well, let's get to our guest. So, Jeff, with over 2 decades of experience forecasting Florida's severe weather, Jeff Berardelli is WFLA's chief meteorologist and climate specialist. All right. You got like double titles. That's pretty special. This is Berardelli's second time serving in the Tampa Bay area. Having last worked there from 1997 to 2003, Jeff returns to the Tampa Bay area by way of New York City, where for the past few years he served as CBS News meteorologist and climate specialist. And I know you were working on your degree up there, Jeff. So what, I'd imagine now that you're not there and down in Tampa Bay, that was a successful run. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was. It happened during COVID. I graduated, got my master's degree in climate and society at Columbia University. Now, right after I left, they established the climate school. So they have a whole school for climate, as climate's becoming a very, I would say big and significant topic out there. So we're starting to see more of that. Anyway, it was really good. Yeah, no, it was an amazing run in New York. I went there to try to get the national media to talk more about climate change. I think I was somewhat successful, although, it just also the weather got crazy and they decided that they would talk about it as well. But in any event, I think I accomplished my goals. And then my wife and I, we just had a baby girl several months ago.
Congratulations.
And as any of you know who might have children, life changes completely at that moment. So we made some big decisions, and I couldn't be happier to be back here. Out of all the markets I've worked in some great ones. I worked in Miami, which I loved. Tampa, I've always kind of considered home. I've moved so much in my life, but Tampa's home to me.
So one question before I turn it over to our co-hosts. So Columbia's got a new program. Are they naming one of their buildings after you now, or how does that all work?
Sure. As long as I'm willing to give them $50 million, they said for sure they would name one of their buildings after me.
Hey, Jeff, I have a question about, I'm going to use the big A word, Andrew, right? Like, you're coming back to Florida from New York and here we are, how many ever years later it is now. And
30.
30 years.
Exactly 30. This is the anniversary. Yeah.
And do you think that South Florida, it's inevitable they're going to get hit again, right? It's a certainty at some point. Are they ready? Have they made the changes necessary that to prevent the type of disaster that we saw 30 years ago?
Do you have an hour?
Yes.
Well,
exactly.
Actually, we have an hour. So obviously, Hurricane Andrew changed everything. We say that, but it really changed the building codes in Florida, so that new structures built after that essentially have to be built to withstand a Cat 3 hurricane. Obviously, that Andrew is a Cat 5. So I would say yes, structures are better prepared. We are better prepared than we were in 1992, but here's the issue. We have a lot more people. We have a lot more structures. Andrew hit perpendicular to the coast, so it came in right through Homestead and Kendall out into the Everglades. But, if you remember a couple of years ago, Irma looked like it was going to go straight through downtown Miami, downtown Fort Lauderdale, downtown West Palm Beach. What a disaster that would have been. Because as it stands right now, you get a hurricane, even a Cat 2 or Cat 3, you're going to wait years to get your roof repaired. There are not enough contractors to do the work. Can you imagine a storm just slicing right through the coastal plain, right along I-95? So I think, surviving the storm, I hate to say it, that's the easy part. It's getting through what is going to be extraordinarily disruptive and dangerous at first too, because of, it's hot in the middle of the summer. Nobody has air conditioning for the first few weeks. Resources are low. Anyway, I just think with the amount of stuff that we have built in harm's way, it's going to take years for any city to recover from a major hurricane like that.
I can't remember the name of the town, but the building that fell down on the beach, was it last year, guys? Did anybody remember the name of the town?
Yeah, it was North Miami Beach, but I can't remember the
right. So you have to imagine that can't be the only property in the area that's got some structural issues after how many ever years. Is that being looked at as is there any way to determine who's in real harm's way? Okay,
it's a good question. Do you have an hour?
Yes.
Okay. Well, actually, yes, we do. Actually, we have less than an hour now because I took already. So I lived in South Beach, and so I know Miami Beach very well. So I don't know if the final report has been released from that building. And when I say it was in North Miami Beach, I just want to be clear. It wasn't in the city of North Miami Beach, because there is actually a city on the mainland called North Miami Beach. It was on the north side of Miami Beach, just north of it. Can't remember off the top of my head. But, a lot of us believe that it had something to do with saltwater intrusion because of sea levels rising and a rising water table there. Anybody who knows anything about Miami knows the water comes up from the ground. So you could build a wall if you want around Miami Beach. The water does not come over the seawalls. It comes up through the sewers. It comes up through the calcium carbonate limestone ground. It's cavernous. So with that said, who knows how many buildings are under the same problems. Surfside. Surfside is, thank you, Angela, for that. Surfside is where it was. And here's the issue. Nobody wants to deal with it. I believe the Florida legislature was supposed to take it up this past year. And what do you think they did? They passed on it. Why'd they pass on it? because the builders don't want to have to deal with the extra regulations. So that's where it was left off. Now, whether they've taken it back up again or not, I do remember being really angry when I heard they passed on, because think about it. It just happened. It was a complete disaster. Everybody said, we're going to do something about it. And then when it came down to it, money got in the way, and that's a problem. So when I'll rewind quickly to say, I lived in Miami, so I understand the builders do not want to take the precautions they need to protect these buildings against climate change and sea level rise in the future. So they'll allow, let's say, a 1 foot, 1 or 2 feet of increased height on the in the soil, but you try to push more than that. And I'm making up numbers, by the way. But if you try to push too much, the builders push back, and they don't want to have to pay for the extra mitigation, if you will, or adaptation.
That's so crazy. So Jeff, I have to ask you, since you started a family, you have a little baby girl and everything like that, and moving down from New York, when you were buying a house, what did you factor in? Like,
I didn't buy a house.
You didn't buy a house.
No.
What?
I'm living in an apartment right now. My baby was 2 months old. We drove 3 days down to Florida. I had to start like a few days after that. We were living in a hotel for 2 weeks. So no, there was no time, but I am going to buy at some point. I'm probably going to buy in a condo, and I'll tell you why. Because buying in a house, especially if you're anywhere near a flood plain, is an issue finding flood insurance. Really, not just flood insurance, any kind of insurance in Florida. A lot of insurers are starting to drop out of the market. So I'd rather be in a shared building where we have a shared responsibility to find insurance coverage, such that it keeps premiums lower, and also you have more buying power that way. So in my mind, at least, I had a house when I lived in West Palm Beach that was built in 1920, 1930. And first I had to have Citizens Insurance, which is the insurer of last resort in Florida, is the state. And then Lloyd's of London came into the market, so I was able to get that. But the point is, you're constantly, every year or two, under threat of losing your insurance or of seeing your premium double. And that's not something I want to deal with. So for me, condo living is probably where I'm going to be.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Very smart. And I know they had a similar situation. I heard lots of stories in Katrina where like the flood insurance was like, it was the wind from the hurricane that pushed the storm surge up, and so they fight against each other, and it's just, it's a disaster.
Yeah, it's exactly what they do. They're going to try to deny as much as they possibly can.
Yeah. So let's talk about forecasting, Jeff. Okay. So you were in New York City, snowstorms, all of that. And then you've been in Florida, tornadoes, hurricanes. What is the hardest thing for you to forecast? And do you have a scariest weather moment, like while you were, covering severe weather at the station and you guys had to take cover?
Okay. So what is the toughest to forecast? I'm going to say probably hurricanes. Just because, I grew up in New York City. I forecasted nor'easters. I would say that where I have the least experience forecasting, it's tornado forecasting. I'm not a storm chaser. I've not done any time in Dallas or Oklahoma City or Topeka or any of that area. So I would say that's where, if I have a weakness, that's my weakness. And obviously my strength being hurricanes. So I've worked here for so long. Still, look at this season. I mean, especially sub-seasonal forecasting. Everybody thought this was going to be a banner year, and it turned out to be a dud so far. Now, knock on wood, that could change. But, nobody got it right so far. So this really fooled us. I can't say that many people would.
Jeff, I got $3 riding on it. Just remember that.
I know. So we'll see what happens. And then the other, I've never been in a situation where I felt that threatened. We dodged a bullet with Matthew when I was in West Palm. Then we dodged a bullet with Irma. One went to the right, one went to the left. So I got lucky during those two storms. So I've yet to be at a TV station on the air when a major hurricane came right over the station.
Well, fingers crossed that it doesn't happen this year.
Do you know it's been more than 100 years that the Tampa Bay area has been hit directly by a major hurricane?
Really?
It's insane. We have dodged every bullet over the past century. In fact, the Cat 3 that hit in 1921 hit Tarpon Springs. It didn't even really hit the heart of Tampa Bay. But I will say that, this area is, I don't want to say that we are more vulnerable than New Orleans, but we're probably at least on par with New Orleans. There's so much low-lying area. Tampa is just water, 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 water everywhere. Tampa Bay is huge, and everybody's on the water. And our infrastructure hasn't been tested in 100 years. We haven't had a big hurricane. We just haven't. So,
so other than Jeff, other than dumb luck, is there anything to attribute that? Is it just that dumb luck?
I think there's a little bit of dumb luck, but I think mostly it's the fact that we're kind of in a little nook and cranny there on the west coast of Florida, where most storms hit the southeast coast or go through the Keys. In order for a storm to really hit us, it has to move either north from the Caribbean and then hook to the east, which means it likely has to happen in September or October, probably late September, because usually storms are not necessarily in the Caribbean until October. And sometimes you can get them moving to the Caribbean, but because right now, at least the climatology in September is that the storms stay out towards Bermuda or along the eastern seaboard. So it's October when, we're most likely to get hit directly, if we get hit directly, and the storm has to, take that perfect curve to the east. A lot of times what ends up happening is they head up towards the Panhandle and then they make the turn. It's a combination of just not a favorable area for hurricanes and also dumb luck, but eventually, our luck is going to run out.
Wasn't Hurricane Charlie in 2004 close?
It was coming right at us. Coming right at us. But these storms, all they have to do, they don't have to turn a lot. If they're 200 miles offshore and all they do is make a little, jog about 1 or 2 degrees, they're going 100 miles further south or 50 miles further south. And Charlie was a tiny, tiny storm. It was so incredibly powerful. It was like a huge tornado. Yeah, it was. But the way it came through, its core was like a tornado. But if you went 15 miles outside of that core, you didn't even see a tree. You didn't even see a leaf off of a tree. That's how concentrated the power was with Charlie. So in Tampa, the winds were like 5 or 10 miles an hour.
Wow.
And it was supposed to be a Cat 4 hurricane. I'm not kidding. It was just crazy quiet here during the storm. Now, however, I will say that part of my market got hit hard. Polk County, which is in the eastern side because Charlie was a strengthening storm when it moved on land, it had that upward momentum and it was moving at a decent pace. So when it got into Polk County, it still was a major hurricane. So it did a lot of damage in the eastern part of my viewing area. But again, what's most destructive for our area is if a storm comes through Tampa Bay, because it forces all that water into the downtown of Tampa and St. Pete.
Oh my gosh. And I remember I have a couple friends that chased Charlie and that thing was a beast. They went through the eye and everything and the eye wall. It was incredible. So would you ever fly into a hurricane, Jeff, if you had the opportunity?
I haven't done it. And I haven't done it because I don't particularly love flying. I don't hate flying. I'm not afraid of flying, but I don't, like when I take a bath, I get seasick. So, it's not really, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't take baths, but I used to be a commercial fisherman. I bet you didn't know that.
Wow.
Years and years ago, but still, I don't like bouncing up and down on the plane. No.
Yeah, I agree. That's so fascinating. Now, when it comes to tornadoes, did Charlie create were there a lot of tornadoes with landfall?
I don't remember. This was 20 years ago now. It was 2004 or 5, Charlie? 4?
Yeah, 2004. Yeah.
It's been a long time. And I was working at WCBS in New York City that year. I just moved back from Tampa. I just moved back to New York City and ended up missing it. I don't remember how many tornadoes it produced. I would say it probably wasn't a prolific tornado producer because it just cut northeastward and it was pretty compact and tight and, I don't know. But we can check that.
Jeff, were you in New York when Sandy did its thing?
No. In fact, I had moved back to Florida. So I got to tell you, it's kind of a joke between me
Talking
and one
about
of the
dumb
editors.
luck.
I know. They call me, they just say that I have a shield, or there's another couple of meteorologists in the market who just remark about me having this shield, this force field that somehow repels hurricanes. And it seems to work. I just got back to Florida and hurricane season has just quit. So maybe I'm a lucky charm. We'll see.
Well, I'll tell you what, you guys know we're in the midst of hurricane season, even though it has been a little quiet on the coast. Not so much out in the ocean, but here on the coast. There's never been a better time to prepare now because we're pretty much running out of time. So prepare your home for a storm, whether your home is wood, concrete, or brick. We trust and recommend Windstorm products for all the hurricane hardware you need for your storm shutters. And I actually, they sent me a little sample kind of these things. And now, Jeff, you might be a lot more familiar with this stuff than Greg is with preparing your home and storm shutters. But so they've got all this hardware. So everything you need is there. And they've got the difference between a male and a female connection. So when you're attaching the shutters to your home, you kind of see the difference there a little bit with the female one. Apparently is maybe slightly more expensive, but you can put these little covers over the edge, and it's a little more.
The females are more expensive.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did. That'll be our episode title probably. But the males are less expensive, and it's just true. That's right. The male bolts. I should have said bolts, right? But these ones are a little more exposed, so you kind of put the covers on. So that's why they say these ones are a little prettier, I guess, on your home. But either way, whether it's brick or wood, there's all kinds of different examples of each to prepare your home and have that in place. So again, Windstorm Products, world's largest online distributor of your hurricane hardware. They even offer a $5 flat rate shipping to all 50 states. So visit windstormproducts.com for your one-stop hurricane hardware shop and tell them that the Stormfront Freaks sent you. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more from Jeff. Stay tuned.
Nice job, Jeff.
Great studio audience.
Yeah, I know. They're always perfect, and they sound great every time. Like, I don't even need to feed them or give them anything.
So awesome.
All right. So, hey, we always, Jeff, one of the things we like to do is our VIPs, give them a chance to ask any questions over the breaks. So I know we got Dan back. Dan, I didn't think we'd see you tonight, so I was glad to see you jump in. But Dan and Angela, if you guys have a question for Jeff, now would be a time to ask.
I do.
Okay.
So with today being the anniversary of the Great Storm of 1900 that obliterated Galveston, Texas, where they raised the city to match the seawall, do you ever foresee that having to happen in the next 100 years with like Florida coast?
So in Miami Beach, they're already raising the streets there. They spent about $500 million. I was living there when they were doing it. They were raising the streets. They were putting pumps in. And an interesting thing happened because as you raise the streets, there was a flood one day, and water got into a restaurant because it ended up that the restaurant was now underground because the street was raised. So when the restaurant went to collect on their insurance policy, their insurance said, "Oh well, you didn't tell us you lived in a basement," and so they refused the claim.
Oh my God.
And so my immediate reaction was, well, the city of Miami Beach better get insurance for these businesses because you're going to raise the street, which is what they did. So they raised the streets. That's what they need. That's what they need to do. And actually the plan is going to get them through, they say 2050-ish or so. Here in St. Pete, they're predicting that our sea level is going to rise. NOAA's latest prediction is about another 14 inches by 2050. That's a lot.
14 inches?
That is a lot.
Because I know down there, like they actually raised like all the buildings post hurricane, like all the buildings that were still there, but they were raising like Catholic cathedrals and stuff. So it's like I was just curious if that's.
I don't know about raising actual buildings, but when they build new buildings, they're a little higher. But like I said to you, the builders are pushing back, so I think they only went a foot or two higher. And they had wanted to go even higher than that. But again, one of the things they are doing all across Miami Beach, and now it's actually on the mainland too, is they are raising the streets. And it's being done at several feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
How about you, Dan? Anything?
Probably not on this break.
Okay. All right. Well, good. All right. So what we'll do is we'll come out of break. I'll start with a question, and we'll maybe go for about 10 more minutes or so. And then, Jeff, we will hear. And that is the sound for our lightning round. So we'll play our lightning round little game show tonight. We're bringing back an oldie but goodie for you. And then we will we'll go to our second break when we finish with that. Okay? Any questions from anybody?
No, Angela, I liked your question so much. I want the audience to hear, so I'm probably going to ask that and say it's you.
Okay. Yeah, do that. All right, so here we go. We are coming back in 3, 2. Well, welcome back to the show. Jeff, you'll notice our studio audience kind of has the same applause and hoot and hollering every time we go to them. But I do want to, one of the first questions I've got for you. So you said you lived down in South Beach for what, I guess, how old were you while you were in South Beach? When was that?
30s. I was in my 30s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that wasn't that long ago. I was going to ask you a question, Crockett or Tubbs?
Yeah, I don't know about either. I don't think I watched that show. And I think I was watching the A-Team and the Knight Rider.
Okay,
so
fair
I think
enough.
I missed the Crockett and Tubbs.
All right, so here's a little more serious question. So you were talking about Tampa Bay. It's been 100 years since any major hurricane hit, and you talked about the infrastructure. And so one of the things I've read about Tampa Bay is you said they hadn't been really tested yet. Is it seems like there's a big question about the ability to evacuate because of all the bridges and everything else. I guess what do you know about that, and what can you talk about that question for the city? Right.
So when the winds get past a certain miles per hour, they shut down some of the bridges. Now, Pinellas County, Tampa is not an issue. It's not really an issue necessarily evacuating Tampa, because Tampa, once you get north of Tampa, it's all land. There's no water. And so that's Hillsborough County. But Pinellas County, where St. Pete and Clearwater is, that's difficult, because the way to get out of Pinellas County is through the Sunshine Skyway Bridge South, which is a big bridge if you've seen it, or one of the causeways, the Courtney Campbell Causeway, the Howard Franklin Bridge, which is basically a causeway, and the Gandy Bridge, which is, kind of a bridge, kind of a causeway. And they go right over Tampa Bay. And, if it's too stormy, too windy, they'll shut those down. So at that point, the only way to get out of Pinellas County is to go north and then around to the east. That's difficult because a lot of people live in Pinellas. It is a very densely populated county. Yes, it would be very difficult, and it has been a problem in the past.
So still going with this question of infrastructure. So Angela, our amazing, she's incredible. She had a great question regarding the fact that actually today is the anniversary of the 1900 Galveston hurricane, which is the deadliest hurricane that the U.S. has ever had. And talking about after that, they lifted the entire city just to prevent flooding and the catastrophe that happened. Are they doing similar things in Miami, Tampa, and what are your feelings around that?
I'm not sure if they're doing any of it in Tampa yet, but they are doing it in Miami Beach. South Beach has spent, last I checked, and when I lived there, they were doing this. They were spending $500 to $600 million to raise the streets a couple to a few feet. I think it was like 3 or 4 feet. So the streets, if you had gone, before and after, you'd see that the streets were literally 4 feet higher. Plus, they were putting pumps in all over Miami Beach to pump the water back out, because we were getting a lot of sunny day flooding. I mean, there were days that people were kayaking down the street. I would come out of a movie theater, and this did really happen one time. And I'm a meteorologist. I walked out. I'm like, did it rain? What the hell happened? It was just water. It was just high tide, and it was an east wind, and it was an astronomical moon, full moon, and we ended up with enough water to flood the streets. It was happening so much that Miami Beach realized that they needed to start preparing by essentially building the streets up and putting the pumps in, and also preparing for what's going to happen decades from now when sea level is going to continually rise. Here in Florida, we're looking at another foot of sea level rise in about the next 30 years or less. But in terms of raising the buildings, I'm sure there's some of that going on, but I can't imagine that's very easy to do. And I don't even know if it's really possible for some of these big buildings.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Go ahead, Greg.
Well, I was just going to say, Jeff, to follow up on that, the United States is the richest country in the world. You're talking about spending $500 million in one city to raise some streets, and that number is going to go way up from there. What about places like the Bahamas, like the islands in the Caribbean and the Hades of the world that don't have that kind of money to improve their infrastructure? Like, it just seems to me that that's where the real catastrophe of climate change is going to be.
It is. So there's not much you can do for a lot of these islands. They are going under unless they are able to build up those islands. Years ago, I ended up meeting one of the, I don't know if it was the prime minister of one of the island nations out in the Western Pacific Ocean. They're especially concerned about this. And I don't know what to say other than, I don't know what they can do. I'm not an engineer. I do think that there's international issues that crop up, because once there's a foot of water over these islands, it's no longer, it's not even their land anymore, I think, legally. It brings up all kinds of international problems. So they're facing an existential crisis, let's put it that way. And hundreds of millions of people live in low-lying areas, and especially in these poorer nations, Bangladesh, just being one that comes to mind.
Look at what happened in Pakistan the last couple of weeks, right? Like,
what a disaster. A third of the country is underwater. A third. Millions of homes are flooded. People are already very poor there. Their land, most of them are subsistence farmers, a lot of them at least, they have no farm anymore. So it is a tremendous catastrophe. And this is one of the reasons why with climate change we talk about. People have asked me, what are you most concerned about when it comes to climate change? And I'm not going to give you the standard answer. It's not, bigger hurricanes. It's not, necessarily, a flood that hits the United States. It's climate migration. Why? Because as it stands right now, nobody wants to bring extra people into the country as it is. And most countries are like that. It's not just the United States. People are going to be forced within. So first is going to be internal migration, which is happening very fast. In fact, the majority of migration over the past couple of years was not due to conflict. It was due to climate and weather disasters. The vast majority across the world. And then the next step is not just internal migration, it's external migration. And then you're talking about political conflicts that arise from that. That is what I'm most concerned about. Oh, and then, of course, issues with supply chains. We saw what happened with COVID, right? COVID was just one thing. And look at how it metastasized into supply chain issues all over the world. And in terms of inflation, in terms of all the problems that it caused, lack of being able to get resources, compound that with as climate change gets worse, it's hitting all different parts of the world at the same time, compound issues. That's what worries me most about climate change. It's not that one storm or that one heat wave or that one flood. It's what.
So how do you get 50% of the population to buy into the climate disaster that's happening?
Well, it turns out that you may not need to. It turns out that capitalism may do it for you. And what I mean by that is, if you see what's happening with EVs right now, there's a pushback in some circles against electric cars. California has their rule that they're not going to sell any cars but electric cars starting in 2035. And there are people that are angry about it. It probably won't matter very much because the market's going to hit a tipping point very soon. Let me explain why. In China, about 2 years ago, about 3 to 4% of the cars that were being sold were electric vehicles. 3 to 4%. Do you know what it is this year? Take a guess. 26%.
Wow.
That's about to happen here too. With the amount of money that's being pumped in this direction, the car companies were sitting just waiting for certainty from the government. Let me put this back in. I'm Italian, so I have to use my hands when I talk. So the companies, the U.S. companies were waiting for the government to decide on what it was going to do. And they were ready to pounce now that money's available. And right. So everybody's going to ready. You just watch. The amount of money that's about to go into electrifying everything is just going to happen literally like a boulder falling down a cliff. So if it happened in China, they were 3%. Now they're at 26% EVs in terms of each, the new cars that are being sold. So the point that I'm making is capitalism is going to do it for us. These technologies are going to become so cheap that it's just going to drive the market. I think that's my opinion. So
I hope,
it turns out
you're right. I hope you're right.
Yeah.
It's just really disheartening to hear so much pushback on climate issues.
You could have done it through regulations. People didn't want regulations. You could try to do it through politics, and it generally failed until just now that a bill barely passed, which no one really thought was going to pass. But it turns out that it's really just going to be capitalism for now. Now, of course, that'll cause more problems down the road. But in the meantime, there are problems that we need to deal with that are immediate issues. So I think you're going to see a revolution. And I say revolution, and I don't mean to say it in a way where it sounds either Democrat or Republican, but there truly is something tremendous that's about to happen in this country and around the world. It's almost like the moment that we tipped from horse and buggies to motorized vehicles.
I love your optimism.
Yeah, I love it too. So let's talk a little bit just with the climate, keeping that in focus, beach erosion. I mean, we've talked about lifting streets and everything, but I mean, the millions upon billions of dollars of beach erosion, like what are communities going to do about that?
Well, Greg asked a good question about Miami Beach and $500 million. To South Beach, that's not exactly pocket change, but it's kind of pocket change. So what's going to happen is exactly what's always happened and what will always continue to happen, which is the rich people will have beaches and the poor people won't.
I don't like that answer.
I mean, well, think about this. So the Army Corps of Engineers are trying to come up with plans to build walls around cities to try to protect them from rising sea level, right? Well, the wall has to end somewhere. Where is it going to end? In Manhattan, they were proposing walls up to like just north of, downtown Manhattan. So the Battery, just north of the Battery. Well, what happens just north of the Battery? All the water is piling up, trying to get in the Battery. It can't get in the Battery. It's just going to go around the edges wherever the wall stops. It's going to stop wherever the real estate is less valuable. So unfortunately, this is the world we live in.
It's true.
All right, so that was kind of a mix. Greg, you're talking about optimism, and then we kind of got that. But that, Jeff, that is the sound of our lightning round. So this is our game show of flashy and brilliant questions that we get to play with our guests. And I mentioned to you earlier we're going to play an oldie but goodie tonight. We're going to play a little game with you called Hurricane or Supermodel. So hurricane or supermodel, we pull this one out every once in a while. And so how this game goes, Jeff, is I'm going to give you a name. And you need to tell me, is that the name of a 2022 Atlantic hurricane? Or is that the name of a supermodel?
Could it be both?
Possibly. Possibly. Yeah. It could. And it could be way more possible than I really know, right? Because supermodel, who knows? Well, that could encompass a lot of different names. But so that's it. I'm going to give you a name, and the freaks are always welcome to kind of chime in and be your go-to if you need to. But that's pretty simple how it works. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So here we go. So the first name is Natalia. Is that a 2022 hurricane name or a supermodel?
Well, can I phone a friend?
Sure. You can do whatever you want. You're the guest. So.
All right. Can I get a clue from one of the folks who's here in the Brady Bunch here?
What do you think, freaks?
That assumes we know.
Okay. Well, I think it's a supermodel.
You think it's a supermodel?
Yeah.
You would be correct. Natalia Vodianova.
Whoa.
So there you go. All right, next one. Paula, hurricane or supermodel?
I think both.
You're actually correct.
Whoa!
I saw Paula and I'm like, oh shoot, I think there's like at least one Paula.
Paulina, there's a Paulina.
Paulina Porskova. Is that who it is?
That's
okay.
But I'm
sure there's a Paula too. I'm giving that to you. All right, the next one is Lisa. Lisa, hurricane or supermodel?
Hurricane.
Supermodel Lisa.
Who knows? There could be a Lisa supermodel too, and I apologize to her if there actually is one. But no, that is a 2022 hurricane. You're correct. Miranda.
Oh, that's a supermodel.
Wow.
Do you know which Miranda?
Good.
No, I have no idea.
Okay, Miranda Kerr. Okay. All right, Tobias.
Oh, that's a storm.
Technically, it's actually both. That's another one where I thought, okay, that's good. And then I was looking up supermodels. Oh, there's a Tobias.
A Tobias supermodel?
Yeah,
is it a woman or a man?
It's a guy. It's a guy.
Oh, okay.
All right, next one, Jessica.
That's a supermodel.
Wow,
Jessica
Jeff,
Stam.
you are on fire.
Jessica Stam.
Well,
Phil,
can I
before
just
you-
say,
before you go any further-
I just say, Greg, that the names don't really change. They've been the same for like 15 years on the hurricane list.
Unless they get retired, yeah.
Unless they get retired. So, we have in fact, we have another storm coming up. I think the next one on the list has been used before. I could be wrong.
I feel like Phil should have bet his $3 on you getting all these correct rather than.
I would have a better shot. What, Jeff? How often are they rotated? Like, when are they rotated? When is one?
I think it's like every 10 or 20 years or something like that. The WMO, all the countries that are affected by. So it could be Canada, and also the Caribbean nations and Central America and the United States. They all get together and they come up with new names. So I can't remember exactly, but it's maybe 20 years, maybe 10 years.
Okay. All right, Sherry.
That is interesting. I think that might be a supermodel.
It might be, and I might be pronouncing this wrong. It's Shary. Is that Sherry? Shari?
Yeah. Shary.
Yeah.
No, there's the pronouncers are on the National Weather Service site. I'm not going to look now because I don't want to cheat. But if you look at the names have a pronunciation.
All right. So I might have pronounced it wrong, threw you off. So that's fair. All right, Oliver.
No hitter.
Oliver.
Oh, I'm trying to think. Would the was there an O storm that was retired recently? Was Otto a storm?
Yeah, I feel like.
Because that would be the only way because I don't remember Oliver. So Oliver's a new name then. And I can't remember. So Jennifer, do you remember an O name that's been retired recently?
I want to say Oliver's a hurricane. I want to say.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go along with Jennifer. Oh,
That was your mistake. To go along with the watermelon, bubbly water drinking co-host.
Well.
Oliver Cheshire, supermodel. All right, here's your last one. All the money's on this one, Jeff. Carl, hurricane or supermodel?
Hurricane. Okay, right?
Very good. It'd be an interesting supermodel name. Carl. They need to make a Will Ferrell supermodel movie, and his name's Carl.
I like that.
Didn't Ben Stiller have one?
Yeah, Zoolander or something like that. Wasn't that what that was?
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, good job. That was good. That was very good. So do this. Let us know where our listeners can find you on social media or follow you or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, on Twitter, I'm very, very active. It's @WeatherProf. @WeatherProf on Twitter. And then I am active on my Facebook, Jeff Berardelli Facebook, on my work page. But I would say if you really want, because I post a lot more on Twitter. Twitter's the place.
Very good. Well, I'll tell you what, tropical season is upon us, and at helicity.co/SFF, they've got a huge selection of creative weather and hurricane-themed T-shirts, gear, merchandise, including some Stormfront Freaks merchandise like our #WeatherFools shirts and stickers. Just go to the exclusive site. It's helicity.co/SFF, and you're going to earn 5% off your entire order. And while you're there, again, click on the Brands tab, and that's where you'll find all your Stormfront Freaks. I've had two. I'm on the Hard Mountain Dews, MJ. That's where you're going to find all your Stormfront Freaks favorites. So again, that's helicity.co/SFF. So it's time for our final break, but we definitely have more to come, including #WeatherFools and some cool WX resources to share.
Woo.
All right, Jeff.
Me again.
Thank you very much. Here's the deal: if you got to go watch the football game, you're welcome to go. We've got one more segment of funny kind of stuff that we go through. You can stick around for if you'd like.
I have nowhere to go necessarily. It's fine. All
right.
Stick around.
So you can be in our peanut gallery and make comments on these videos that we're going to share, and they're pretty good. They're pretty funny.
Do you need Phil? Do you need us to share screen, or since we emailed them to you, you have them?
No, I'll need you guys. I just need your email so I can post them on the show notes, so people can, listeners that aren't going to be able to see this, can pull it up and see it. So, hashtag Weather Fools. That's Greg. That's going to be you.
Yep.
Coming into the Who. I have 3 to share.
MJ has 1.
Jen, do you have any?
I do, but now it's not letting me share it again. I actually switched computers too, and this one was working. Which I don't know what the issue is. Hold on. Which this is so frustrating every single time. Let me see if I can fix it quick. Under system preferences. Let's see. I do. I have a weather fool, and I have. Did you put my 2 from last time on the show notes? So.
Not if you didn't use them. If you used them or talked about them, I did. I guess I don't recall.
Yeah. So I have 4. I can save 2 for next time. So I have 2 weather fools, and I have a weather resource.
Okay.
I just.
So Greg, you got all that? You're frozen.
I'm frozen?
Yeah. On my screen.
Yeah, you're frozen on mine too.
Okay. You got an inquisical look.
Okay, let me.
But that's fine. I can hear you.
Okay. I was just gonna say maybe I'll leave studio and come back in, MJ. Okay.
Yeah, do that real quick.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. All right, and then Jen, then you'll come into what Christmas means to me. Okay, and that'll be WX resources. Sorry. Oh, and by the way, all of these are on episode 165 show notes at stormfrontfreaks.com.
Okay.
And I've got 2
Perfect.
WX resources.
Awesome.
And by the way, Jen, your other weather fools were not included on the last.
Okay,
episode.
perfect. I'll use the first 2. Should I just kind of walk through them and you guys can pretend you see them? You're like, whoa, this is like amazing.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool.
We can do that. I could see if I can pull them up here.
And I can just talk through the weather resource too.
Greg, you'll have to reshare your screen too.
Yeah, should I do Chrome tab, MJ, or
that's usually the best. Chrome tab's usually the best.
Okay, but I can only do
Chrome
one at
tab
a time,
will only
right?
show one Chrome tab.
That's true.
So if you've got multiple, you'll have to stop and then share again. Do the window.
Do the window.
Do the window. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna close all those other website tabs I have open.
Oh, what you're looking at?
That might be good. That might be good.
Greggles.
Nothing.
All right, Jen, I can pull them up here.
Beautiful.
Dennis Phillips. Someone covered that one. The pool, water spout in the pool.
Last time? I feel like I was on the last one and they didn't. Or maybe they...
Yeah, I've seen it before.
Okay.
And the guy leaves the pool.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I know someone's done that one. Paul Fox.
Which is the same. It's from a different angle where they're like running away from it as it goes on shore.
Yeah. I can't remember if we shot. Are you sure you didn't do these?
No.
Okay.
I'm sure.
All right. Well, let's do that one.
Okay.
The beach, the water spout coming on shore.
Okay. Perfect.
I'll play that one for you. So.
Thanks, Phil.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right, Greg, you got all that. And then when everyone's done with their weather fools, it's episode 165 show notes on stormfrontfreaks.com.
Okay. And just to confirm, MJ, you don't have any?
He has one.
I have one.
Okay. And Jen, you have 2 then, or just 1?
I have 1.
One.
She has one.
Phil?
I've got 3.
Okay. Perfect.
The
Surprise,
rest.
surprise.
Phil, you've got 2 weather resources. Does
Yep.
anybody else have other weather resources?
I
You've
got one.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
And then Freak Fan Box, MJ.
I get a couple.
Okay, and I'll close this out.
Perfect.
So, Jeff, this is where you get to watch and make all the funny comments you want to make. Does that sound good?
Okay. Sounds good.
Or you can watch and you don't have to make any comment either. I mean, it's completely up to you. Again, you're the guest, so you get to kind of do whatever the hell you want to do. That's how this works.
All right.
All right, so let's do this. Greggles, we are coming into music and applause in 3, 2.
All right. It's that time of the show. My favorite part of the show. This is where we do hashtag Weather Fools. This is where we scour the internet for all those idiots, those morons, those kind of people that just don't get it. And they do dumb things when bad weathers are happening. And listen, guys, I'm going to start off with the one that I've got. MJ, if you can cue that up, I'm going to go to this one, which is out of this is actually out of Canada, out of Kelowna, British Columbia. And this is a kind of a photo. A photographer thought it would be a good idea to do engagement photos or proposal photos with severe weather around. And she caught this photo of a lightning strike. Looks like it's maybe hitting the tree fairly close behind the couple. And listen, guys, don't do this at home. Bad weather. Don't bring your clients out, and it's just not a good idea.
That is crazy. Look at that.
Did they feel like that was a sign?
Yeah,
They should have.
they should have, yeah. So I thought this one was pretty wild. Now the other one I've got, Phil, is this video from I don't know if you guys have seen this one. This comes from the Weather Channel's Instagram account. But this is looks like a little dog, and he's a golden retriever, and he's swimming, and all of a sudden these manatees just like explode out of the water.
Oh my gosh!
Eating frenzy.
Let's just watch
It does.
it again.
It looks like a bunch of sharks.
It
Like,
does. Oh my gosh.
oh my gosh!
Now, for all you dog lovers out there, I will let you know that no Fido was harmed in the filming of this video, so the dog was okay, but it was still kind of funny to see that one. Now, Jen, you had a weather fool as well for us.
I do have a weather fool, and so this is actually from a couple of weeks ago. The amazing water spout that was off of the Florida Gulf Coast, and there were a lot of weather fools on this day. I'm just going to say that because this isn't your typical water spout. Obviously, this was from a supercell thunderstorm. It was actually a tornado over water, technically a water spout. But I mean, it was crazy as it came on shore. And you can see people running from the beach.
Oh, look at
Oh
that.
my gosh!
Right there.
Yes. Like, I mean, you should, I know it's cool. And I'm going to be a hypocrite. I may be out there filming, but from a safer distance than that.
Like there's people right in there. Right? Oh, look at that!
Oh, look at him. Oh my gosh.
That's like 0 metering right there.
Exactly. And there was just the news the other day of just a random gust of wind that stabbed a woman with the umbrella on the beach and killed her.
Oh,
I don't know if you heard that.
I didn't hear that.
Jeez.
Oh,
Oh my
jeez.
Yeah, so you don't want to do this. This is definitely not somewhere you want to be. So just be careful, no matter what the weather is when you're on the beach.
But you know, Jen, we're all weather fools ourselves, and we know we would all be out there filming as well.
This is true. This is true.
MJ, you have a weather fool for us.
Yeah, I'm going to throw this one up there, and I'm going to try to find it. And play it.
Yes, the baseball game.
Yes, the baseball game. This was at the Twin. This was shared to us, by the way, by our Patreon teammate Steve Collier, and I'll get it moving here for us. And this is a Twins game at Target Field in July, and there's just an incredible wind and shelf cloud coming in.
Whoa!
And everybody's sitting around watching it. They brought the tarp out on the field, so at least they called the game or postponed the game for lightning and storm, which sometimes they don't do in Major League Baseball. So at least they did that. But everybody's just watching. So.
Wow. That's.
But I mean, what do you do in a case like that? Because
right.
you can't get everybody out and people trample each other. So maybe get them inside if that's possible.
As a photographer, I have to say that's my dream photo right there.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Here's the problem though with Major League Baseball is they're the worst as far as professional sports. They were under a thunderstorm warning.
Yes.
And they still they were still playing the game before any of that hit.
Yep.
Didn't evacuate, they always wait till the last minute till basically, it starts raining. And then it's like, doesn't matter. Like you have a shelf cloud, it's not even raining yet until that thing's right above you. So
yeah, but Phil, they got to get there. What a baseball? What do they play now? 400 games a season or something?
Yeah, that's true.
It seems like they're playing every day. They got to get them in. Phil, you got some weather fools for us.
I do. So the first one I'm going to share with you guys, this was Scott Duncan. This was a tornado in Scotland. And what's interesting about this, as I play it, you'll kind of see it in the background. Someone's on their balcony kind of taking this. It's a residential area. Yeah. But you'll see he'll zoom in, and there's a dude.
There it is.
Basically walking home his groceries. Just right there on the road.
Right on the road.
Just walking his groceries home with a tornado, maybe 200 yards, 300 yards.
Wow.
That reminds me of Lawnmower Man. That's very similar to that Lawnmower Man.
He's not even hustling.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you said Scotland, right?
Yeah, it's Scotland.
I mean, how often do they have tornadoes? I imagine very, very rarely.
Yeah.
But still, oh my goodness.
So Jeff, you just said the whole country is a bunch of weather fools because they haven't. Is that what you said? Right.
You don't have much experience.
I heard him.
Okay.
Send your cards and letters too.
All right. Exactly. All right. The next one. So Dallas. So this would definitely be something. Dan, you know that you guys gotten some water recently. So here's our obligatory turn around, don't drown video of downtown Dallas.
There you go.
Someone's taken some video from their office window, and one of the streets is completely underwater. It's dirty water because it looks like there's some construction going on nearby. You cannot see the bottom.
No.
So it's just a wing and a prayer that the road is still underneath your wheels.
But you got these people, they watch somebody go through and they're going, yeah, I can do it too.
Right. Yeah, just follow that trail and hope there's not a sinkhole. That's usually the...
Right.
It's so terrible for your engine, though. Like, it's just,
it's horrible.
Yeah.
All right, and then the last one I've got is also from Dallas. But this is worse because this is now actually, they tried driving through water, stalled, and now they are putting rescuers in danger because now the rescuers have to try and go out to the vehicle and save those that are stranded.
Right.
Oh
That's the real weather fool here.
It
right?
sure is, for sure.
Yeah.
Look how dirty that water is, though.
Oh, I know.
Gross.
Yeah, flood waters are not something to go swimming in.
Jen, when you say water in this case, you have to use air quotes.
Yeah.
There's probably some other stuff floating around in there.
I know.
Yeah, it's been a crazy month for floods. I mean, across the U.S. Well, really everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. Yeah, that's wild.
Jeff, you're right.
Well, listen, that was hashtag WeatherFools. You can, if you want to see them for yourself, you can check out the show notes for episode 165. And and we'll send it back to you now, Phil.
Find that at stormfrontfreaks.com.
So this is also one of my favorite parts of the podcast, and I just wish everyone could visually see NJ dancing really well to that intro. I mean, he just was enjoying that a lot. So I got to give MJ some love. So this is Weather Resources. We want to give you some fun, unique resources that we use ourselves to forecast, that maybe either it's the educational content if you're a teacher, if you're a parent, you want to teach your kids about the weather, or you have a business, or you just want to learn about meteorology yourself. So I have one, which is kind of really cool. We've been talking about, climate change and disasters getting bigger and worse and everything like that. So StormGeo, if you go to stormgeo.com /weather, they offer a whole bunch of weather resources, and these are for businesses specifically and different industries. And so they are there to actually help prepare your business and make sure that no matter what happens during any season of the year, that you guys have the tools and protection that you need. And so they have weather preparedness for hospitals. They have an entire guide for hospitals to make sure that they stay safe. Hurricane preparation for other businesses, how to harness the life-saving power of Twitter in an emergency. So they give very valuable tips to basically any type of business, even schools. And so I think this is a really awesome resource that anyone would benefit from. So it's stormgeo.com /weather. With that said, I'm going to throw it to Greggles. Greg, you've got one. Sure.
Actually, I said I had one, Jen, but I'm going to throw another one that I've talked about before, but I just want to hit it again because I literally used it today, and it's an app for my phone called Windy. And Windy, what it does is it represents, you can literally see the wind and wherever you are, you can actually see what the wind's doing as a visual, visual graphic. And you can see where the low pressure is swirling and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I love Windy. And here's why I used it today. I have a long drive this evening, or today I had to do a long drive. And I checked Windy, and I knew I was going to be driving into a headwind. And with gas prices the way they are right now, I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I look a little bit further out into the forecast, and it tells me, you know what, I'm going to be driving into less wind if I go in a couple hours instead of earlier in the day. So anyway, Windy is the app, easy to find, and I love it. Use it all the time. The other one is one that you cued me on today, Jen, when we talked on email. And I've shared this before, but if you check out Global Hazards Weekly Bulletin, and that's from Reading University in the UK, but they put out this Global Hazards Weekly Bulletin, and you can literally find. Oh, sorry, MJ, there you go. It doesn't look pretty; it's not a super pretty website, but if I click on the week of September 2nd, for example, it'll tell me every country, anything that you want to know about, whether it's an earthquake, whether it's a hurricane, flooding, any kind of disasters that happen anywhere on Earth. The Global Hazards Weekly Bulletin will have it. And so I've always loved that one as well and thought I would share it again.
Greg, those are both so awesome. And I have to say, only a meteorologist would think about looking at the headwind before going on a road trip and planning it around that. I just have to say that. That was really good. So, Phil, you've got a couple.
Yeah, I do. First one is actually an app that I recently discovered and found out, and it's called My Lightning Tracker. You can get this on iOS or Android, either one. But this is very similar to what, one of my favorite websites for lightning is the Blitzer Tongue. If that's how it's pronounced, I always forget how it's pronounced.
I think you got it.
Okay, but I'm not hearing corrections, so that's good. But what's so cool is it's live. It's live data, live lightning strikes across any part of the world, and this app pretty much does the same thing. You can look at any part of the world and see almost instantaneous live where lightning strikes are happening and how many. But this is a great resource, again, especially if you're doing anything outdoors, if you have kids and they're doing any kind of activities, sports, anything, because a lot of people, the thing I've discovered for kids' outdoor activities is no one is really monitoring the weather.
True.
Until it's upon you. Like no one's aware of it. And again, it's very hard to plan and prepare if you're not giving people a heads up of what's going on. So this is just a great, it's a free app with some ads. And if you don't want the ads, you can pay a little something, I think. But again, it's called My Lightning Tracker, and it's iOS or Android. The second thing I want to cover is something I'm kind of excited about, and you guys know I've been talking about storm chaser safety for a long time. Like, just something that there's a huge need for this. To just discuss and bring it up and talk about it. And there's been a big effort done from the National Storm Chasers Summit. Eric Fox he's been a guest with us before, and he's doing a lot with that and promoting safety. One of the things that I'm doing a little bit in conjunction with the National Storm Chaser Summit coming up this February is they're going to start having like some CPR classes, doing things like that, right? Because if you're chasing storms, it's going to happen at some point that you're going to come across storm damage and people that have been hit by that storm. And so the more prepared you are to be able to help and not just be someone who's creating a bigger problem or getting yourself in trouble, but actually be someone who's trained to be able to help, the better, right? The more people we have in that position, the better. So one of the things that we're doing with Stormfront Freaks is we're going to be having, it's actually an emergency, it's a storm chaser safety emergency kit. And what it's going to be is a water bottle, kind of a simple plastic kind of water bottle, right? So let alone you could fill it up with water, use it to help give people water, whatever. But in the water bottle, we're going to put a couple things. Number one, there's going to be a CPR mask. Wow. So like if you have to give CPR, it's a mask that you can put on the victim to kind of give yourself a little barrier. So there's going to be a little CPR mask in there. There's going to be one of these paracord bracelets. If you guys have seen these before, you can basically unravel it, and it's got like 80 feet of paracord. So if you got to try and pull trees out of the way, if you got to try and do something like that, it's just something simple that you'd have access to. There's going to be a Mylar rescue blanket. So if you come across someone that might be in shock, can't move them, and a lot of times, right, storms come through and there's cold weather behind them. This is a great way to just keep someone until more trained personnel are coming, keep them warm. There's going to be some rubber gloves, right? So you've got something to quick throw on if you're dealing with anybody that might be bleeding. And there's going to be a bandage, a 4-inch roll of bandage that can be used if someone's bleeding. It could be tightened to possibly use as a tourniquet if you're trained to be able to do that. But it's going to have all those things in the little water bottle. And we're going to basically be giving those out to people that are meeting certain safety certifications. Like you get a CPR, you become CPR certified, we'll give you one of those. You get certain certifications. We haven't figured out all the details on that yet, but it's something that we're going to be giving away to help promote getting better trained to help out if you are going to be out and about with storms.
Oh my gosh, I love this, Phil. So basically we have to go in February to get one of those water bottles.
That's where we're going to start it. That won't be the only place to get it. Now, I would highly encourage all of you to come. It's a great time. Angela's been there. Dan's been there. Was there last year. I don't know, Greg, if you've ever been there before, but it's down in Oklahoma City, and it'll be in February. And they've got also great speakers, all that kind of stuff.
Is this the Storm Chaser Conference?
Yeah, basically.
Is it the one that Roger Hill was putting on years ago?
For a number of years, I think he was involved. He's no longer involved in that, and it's kind of morphed into something a little different, but kind of the same thing. They're trying to take advantage of what was started and created and kind of keep it going. Yeah.
Right.
So that's it.
Awesome for all.
Can I just say that I have to say I went to that one year.
Oh, cool.
But I only say that because while I was there was like a 36-inch snowstorm in New York City. I missed a giant, like one of the biggest snowstorms ever hit during that conference. I was so upset. I had to be at the storm. I wanted to be at the Storm Chaser Con. I couldn't be in two places at one time. Anyway, okay, sorry, Jennifer.
Jeff the Force Field Berardelli.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, Jeff, oh my gosh. Like, it's fascinating. So if you want to learn about all those weather resources, get the links and everything else, go to stormfrontfreaks.com, episode 165 show notes.
Send me a postcard, drop me a line.
You've got mail, baby, yeah.
All right, what do we got, MJ?
Yes, we do. Alec is enough. Checked in with us. That's exactly Alec, ESNOUGH. Just started listening to the show from the beginning. First of all, apologize for some of those episodes.
Jeff was in one of our early shows, so that was probably one of our better ones.
That was we were getting going by that time, apparently. But anyway, but Alex still loves it. Have you guys tried the Lightning Camera app? I'm not sure if it's on iOS, but it's for sure on Android. I've gotten some really sweet shots with it.
Neat.
And keep up the good work, he says. So I don't know how far along he is in our episodes, but they get better. So keep listening, Alex.
It's all relative.
I love how you guys are apologizing for the first 3 years.
Well, not that
we're
many.
humble.
No, not that many. Loyal Terrier checked in. Says, didn't see WX Serena, that's Serena, pop up anywhere in these comments, and I'm a little disappointed. I absolutely love her on Stormfront Freaks podcast. I always look forward to her commentary and, of course, her latest weather-themed beers. And unfortunately, Serena's not with us tonight, but I'm sure she'll listen to it and hear that, and we appreciate that for sure. And then one more. Link is a weeb. Checked in on Apple. Checked in on Apple Podcasts. Gave us 5 stars and said, fun commentary, informational, and just a good time listening to it. So thank you, Link is a weeb, for that. Keep listening, and please tell a friend. We love to receive those reviews, so keep them coming on your favorite podcast share. And go to stormfrontfreaks.com and find links to all our socials where you can follow us, comment, and share your favorite podcast with others.
That's awesome. Great, and thank you, all of you that have the nice things to say. We don't share all the ones that maybe don't have the nice things to say. We keep those to ourselves. But no, in all honesty, it's always great to hear from you guys and to know that you're appreciating and loving what we're doing, and it's always a lot of fun. And it's always about the guests, because if it was just a show with us, it would not be interesting at all. So anyway, I think that just about does it for this episode of Stormfront Freaks podcast. So thanks for listening and watching. Before I announce the guest of our next show, if you do like the show, don't forget to follow the show on your podcast player so you'll get notified and you get to receive the latest episodes of our show delivered right to your library. The moment they get released, you can find all the podcast player options at stormfrontfreaks.com. And please help us out. As MJ said, send a friend, maybe your favorite episode. Just share it with them, just give them a chance to hear it as well. That's always means a lot to us. And I will say this, we just issued our first bonus episode in years. We just issued a bonus episode this past weekend of a couple raw clips. Some of these clips we edit out for the audio podcast. So if you're not a Patreon member or not aware of Stormfront Freaks Raw, which is just the raw recording of our show, you miss out on a lot of great stuff, and so we shared a couple clips like that on a special bonus episode. So check that out if you haven't heard it. You can also subscribe to our YouTube page, and you can watch previous versions of our recordings of Stormfront Freaks Raw, which I said is completely unedited. You hear all the great conversations during breaks, great questions from our VIPs for guests, and who knows what else that gets beeped out or edited out of the podcast. Also visit our website, stormfrontfreaks.com, and find our Patreon link. That's how you can check out all the ways we can do more with you and how you can help support the show. I will share this with you guys. So we have like 4 levels of our Patreon. 2 of the levels, one is EF5, I think it's like Merch and More level, and then the other is our VIP Hurricane level. And each of those levels, we send them some special exclusive branded merchandise. And so I always love when we get something new that we're going to keep sending out. So some of our latest or longest VIPs and EF5 members, they're going to get this Stormfront Freaks water bottle.
Nice.
So this is the new water bottle that we just got in. We're going to be sending this out as the next quarterly gift for some of our long-term patrons. So it's kind of cool. So go to stormfrontfreaks.com, find out more on that. Hey, special thanks. He stuck around. Sometimes I don't know why, but Jeff did, and I love it. So special thanks to Jeff Berardelli. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate the time.
It was fun. I had a great time. Thank you, guys.
And making it fit, because I know we kind of had to reschedule some things.
Listen, I'm going to be on late tonight, so it's just a perfect night. It worked out very well.
Very good. Very good. So let's do this. Let's find out, freaks, where our listeners can maybe find or follow you guys. Jen, how about you?
You can follow me, Jennifer Weather, on Instagram and TikTok, and at @JWatson_WX on Twitter. Very
good. Greggles?
Tornado Greg on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And cameraeasy.ca is my teaching website. If you want to learn how your camera works, check it out.
All right, MJ.
At Mark Stormpod, MARC Stormpod on Twitter.
Very good. You can find me Twitter. I'm usually tweeting right on our @StormfrontFreak account. So check me out there. Our next episode, we're back next week, recording live on September 15th. This is going to be fun, guys. We got Storm Chaser and YouTube weather phenom Ryan Hall, y'all. Ryan Hall is going to be on the show. Looking forward to meeting him. And it's amazing what he's done on YouTube with creating weather media. It's really cool how he's done that. I'm curious just to get some more information from him on that. But if you know Ryan Hall or you follow him, he's going to be on the show next week. And I'll tease this. So you guys know James Spann, friend of the show. He's been on a few times with us as well. He had a social media post that had one of, I think it was one of Ryan's, what do you call, Jen, a screenshot that you put on your YouTube, a thumbnail. So it was a thumbnail of something of his that was kind of, I don't want to say exaggerating, but it was kind of making it a bigger deal, and which you kind of have to do in social media a little bit if that's what you're kind of trying to do. And James Spann was kind of like, we don't need this kind of stuff. This is which is fine. I get his viewpoint as well. But Ryan was like, hey, bring me on your show. We'll talk about it, whatever. So I had reached out to Ryan before, and we've got him on the show. He's going to be on Weather Brains the following Monday. So we'll have him on first and post the show first, and maybe get a little tease on what he's going to do with James.
I'm so excited for that.
It'll be good. So I would just say this for Jeff and Jen, MJ, Greggles, and we got Dan and Angela in the house as well. I'm going to go ahead and signal the all clear, and we'll catch you guys next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
That was
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. All right. Thank you, guys. Jeff, thank you so much. Hey, Jeff, before you go, I know Dan had mentioned you might had a question for Jeff, and I apologize for not catching it during break.
Well, I just wanted to see. I know I missed the first part of the show. What's going on with Zoom Radar? Are you still with it?
Yeah. I still have it. I mean, I'm still. I mean, I don't. I have to
we
be
have
honest
it.
with you. Love it. You have it. You have it, and you don't have the lightning layer. It has a lightning layer, so I got to give you that.
Oh my gosh! No,
yeah,
man, I thought the Storm Chaser layer was the bomb. Now you've. Wow.
I've had it, but I haven't been doing much with it, Dan. I haven't done. I mean, I built it so many years ago, and I've just, I was in New York, I was getting my master's degree, I was on the network. It's just been very hard to keep up with, but it still survives somehow. So it's still there.
That was going to be.
Yeah.
You programmatically involved in, the programming side.
Oh, I didn't do anything. No, I hired. So when I built Zoom Radar, It was before there was any Zoom. There was no interactive radar on the internet. It was back in 2007. And I hired a guy, and you're not going to believe this. This is a great story. I was like, I have this great idea, and I went to my news director in Miami and said, we got to get something on our website where people can zoom in, because right now it's just these JPEG images of the state, but in Florida, it rains on one side of the street, it doesn't rain on the other. It doesn't make sense. She says, it's a great idea. Go get it. I called WSI. I called Weather Central. I called the weather companies. No one had it. And I told her in the office, I said, listen, I'm going to go look for this. I'll find it. If I can't find it, I'll build it for you. So I couldn't find it. And I said, I better build it. So when I started looking, I spent months looking for a developer, and I came upon this guy, and I called him. I said, hey, would you have an interest in building this for me? And coincidentally, he had just left WSI. He was one of their vice presidents, and he had just gone off on his own to build his own company outsourcing. So I ended up having it built by developers overseas. So it's an interesting story. No, I don't have any coding skills whatsoever, Dan. Zero. That's one of the reasons why it's hard for me to keep up with, because I can't fix anything when it breaks. You know?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's still a good product. I was a customer of yours years ago, so.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, and I'll tell you what, we still plug it at the end of every show. It's on our.
It's crazy that you do
outro.
that. It's so funny.
It probably doesn't do anything. It doesn't sound like it's helping you out at all. But
no, it's not even. Honestly, my emails don't even really work anymore. I mean, that's how the technology works, but the business itself is not really a business. It's just like people. I have a lot of clients who just still use it, so I keep it up for them. Really. Anyway.
Huh.
Dan, are you interested in buying Zoom Radar?
Well, my mind's thinking, and I'll reach out to you, Jeff.
You should reach out to me, but you're gonna zoomradar@gmail.com. Send it there. Zoomradar@gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank
Great.
you.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Jeff. I appreciate it again.
All right.
Yes.
See you later, guys.
Have a good night.
Go Bills, guys. The Bills are winning.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Upstate New York right here. It's amazing.
Oh, you're from, I did the weather in Buffalo.
Rochester, but still like the same. I got.
Wait, did you do the weather in Rochester?
No, but there was a potential to have a job up there, but the winters. I mean, I grew up there. I like it down here better. So
one of my best friends is a meteorologist there, because I went to Cornell. His name's Rich Cornelia. He was my roommate for like 2 years.
Stop! Oh my God, my older one was going to go to Cornell for a veterinary college.
Oh, that's a great college. Cornell has a great vet school. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a good one. That's so fun. Oh my God.
Anyway, all right, guys. Sorry.
Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Have a great night, okay?
Appreciate you. We'll see you.
Thanks, Jeff. Bye.
I was also going to do veterinary.